In this video, we're gonna help you decide if you should invest in Fundrise. And I'm gonna tell you about my experience, and I'm gonna compare the numbers of my Fundrise earnings versus my actual physical rental property earnings. So you can just kind of get a ballpark for how the two compare, and then you can make your own decision. So if that sounds good, just hang tight and we're just about to start. And if we haven't met, my name is Bob Loddick. I'm super glad you're here. And on this channel, what we do is we give you practical tips and strategies on how to put more money in your pocket. And then we also talk about some of the timeless biblical principles on how to manage that money wisely. So if that sounds good, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can hear from us as we create new content. And as we're going through this, if you have any comments or questions about it and about my experience, definitely leave them down in the comment section down below. I will get back to you and answer you as soon as possible. And I'd love to just kind of make that comment section a good resource for other people who are just kind of investigating Fundrise and trying to figure out if it's actually a good investment. So before we dive into my current kind of earnings with Fundrise and comparing them to a rental property, let me step back just a little bit. So basically in 2015, we lived in St. Louis and we moved to Nashville. We kept our old house in St. Louis and we turned it into a rental property. And that was my first kind of stab at having a rental property and trying to see if we could earn some passive income from doing that. Because I wanted to be passive, we hired a property manager who took 10% of all the monthly rents. That way I was able to completely step out of it. I didn't have to deal with phone call in the middle of the night when the plumbing broke or any of that stuff. And so he took care of all that. He took care of finding a good tenant, which he actually did a great job, found somebody who paid every single month. And all was really good with that, and it was super passive and it was really convenient. So from 2015 to 2017, we had that rental property there. And in 2017, I decided, I should actually calculate the returns and see what we're actually earning from this property, the amount of cash that we have invested in it, see what the actual return is. So it took some time just kind of adding everything up and figuring out what the total expenses were, what the income was, kind of getting that, and then figuring out our actual return. And so after I calculated it all up, I determined that our earnings were about 5.4% on the cash that we had invested into the property. Now, somehow in my mind, I had been thinking that we were earning about 10% on our cash invested. And it must be because there were more expenses. I'm not really sure why, but I was just way off. And we were actually only earning 5.4% on that investment. Obviously, we didn't pick this rental property because it was one of the best earning ones. It was because it was the easiest. It was our property we already owned. It was easy to just transfer it into a rental property. And I do know that we could have bought another property that could have had a higher ROI, but this is what we had and this is what we started with and this is what we were earning. Now, in the middle of 2017, I decided to open a Fundrise account, and just out of curiosity, and I kind of wanted to take the rent payments that I was getting and I would just start reinvesting the rent payments into Fundrise, and then once I had enough to buy another property, I would do that. And when I opened my Fundrise account, I believe I needed to have $10,000 in order to open the account, and they've since lowered that to like 500, I think. And as you would expect from one of these new kind of financial startups, the account opening process was super easy, super quick, and it was just a really, really good experience, just kind of opening the account and honestly, just getting started with them was really easy. So I don't know exactly what I was thinking in terms of earnings from Fundrise when I signed up. I was just trying to reinvest some of the money that was coming from my rental property. But they pay out every quarter, and as these payments started coming in, it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. We're actually earning some money here. And I should also note that Fundrise has 3 different investment options that you can choose from. So they have the supplemental income, which is kind of the lower risk one, and then the balanced investing, which is the middle risk, and then the long-term growth, which is a little bit of the higher risk one. And I opted for the balanced investing option with mine. So here's a look at their projected returns for the balanced investing option. So as you can see, this is way better than my rental property was. And so I decided to actually calculate the returns that I was getting from Fundrise. And so once I went back and actually ran the numbers on this, I actually found that my earnings from the dividends only with Fundrise was 6.0% versus the 5.4% on my rental property. So in both of those scenarios, appreciation is not really taken into consideration, but my hunch is that appreciation for a lot of the properties that Fundrise is investing in is actually going to be considerably better than my property and the location that our property was on. Additionally, I should add that with Fundrise, I can always change my investment option over to the higher risk one and higher reward one, and in theory, increase those earnings even higher. And so for us, once I kind of discovered this and just kind of saw the simplicity of Fundrise and how easy it is and how much easier it is than having our rental property and all the work that comes with that. Because the thing that I didn't realize being a new property owner is that even with a property manager who takes care of almost everything, there's still stuff that comes up. There's still things that I had to deal with, you know, taxes, and there's having to have a separate LLC to house it, and just like a lot of just random stuff that comes up that it's just something I have to think about that with Fundrise, I don't. So long story short, we have sold off our rental property and we now use Fundrise as our primary means of investing in real estate. And for us, I probably will get back into physical real estate at some point, but for right now, the simplicity of using Fundrise is just really attractive to me, and so that's why we're kind of focused on that. It's just a great way for people who want to get started investing in real estate but don't want to take on the huge risk of actually buying a property and dealing with all the stuff that comes with that. Like I said before, if you have any questions about Fundrise that you think I can answer, I'm happy to answer down in the comments, and you can definitely check out their website and find a whole lot more. We'll have a link to it down below as well. And if you found this helpful, we'd love it if you could leave us a thumbs up down below. But that is all we have for this video, so stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you there.